Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Warcraft news. It's been a pretty big week. I mean, Corrupted Gear rebalanced, and N'Zoth has had odd things going on, including his death, which went to limit this time. Blizz have responded to War3, then ACTI-BLIZZ had their earnings call, which reveals some key WoW info, plus a bunch more, including a fairly interesting new character joining Blizzard. Also, it's Orc and Shaman month on Patreon, so 2 prints, this sticker, and the second in our class pin series, all for $25, shipping included, plus content as soon as it's made, and you can watch the final episode of our vanilla series there, and it covers the cut content and the original plan for World of Warcraft. And then there's also a deeper video of the systemification of Warcraft up there. And also on the game dev front, I did mention a church organ last week, and yeah, that happened. It turned out pretty darn cool, and there'll be more on that soon. But okay, with that, let's get into the news. So Activision Blizzard ended up, by the numbers, having an incredibly strong end to 2019, driving their MAUs up from 326 million to 409 million. Pretty insane, but most of that was not from Blizz. The gains there are actually from Call of Duty, especially COD Mobile. It was a bit more quiet for Blizz. World of Warcraft, by the end of Q4 2019, though, had double the subs that it ended Q2 2019 with, and there's actually a lot we can garner from that. So Q2 2019 ran from April 1st to June 30th. Rise of Ashara, of course, released June 25th. Now, most WoW players, I mean, come on, we all just play in patch day, so I think it's safe to assume that most of the players who would be interested in Rise of Ashara probably had subscribed by that time. So whatever the numbers were actually at around Rise of Ashara launch, well, they're now double that. The subs are doubled. WoW Classic, of course, launched shortly after Rise of Ashara, and that ended up, we now know, giving WoW the single greatest quarter of growth in its 15-year history. Now, I believe WoD's 2.5 million upwards jump was the previous record, so Classic probably, just came in there, gave them 3 million subs, maybe 4. And according to Super Data, sub revenue actually rose 223%, although some of that could have been driven by 6-month bundles. But still here, the key takeaway is that, yeah, as of the end of Q4 2019, WoW had double the active subscribers than it did before WoW Classic. And just being real with you, for a game to have doubled in half a year, that is pretty darn impressive. Now, of course, a lot of this will end up coming down to retention. Clearly, many people have stuck with Classic, and in the earnings call, Blizzard actually noted that retention was particularly high in the East, and that maybe indicates that Westerners maybe don't have as high an attach rate with the game. And when I think about it, I mean slower, more grindy MMOs, they are more of a thing in the Asian PC free-to-play market, so maybe that's an audience that's more okay with a slower pace of Classic. Then, as for Shadowlands, well, not much, but it was mentioned as being in the second half of 2020, which of course really is not much of a surprise to us. And when mentioning Shadowlands, they highlighted the new ways to customize characters and the revamped leveling system. And on that latter point, I've got to imagine they brought that up so they can indicate to investors that they're trying to capitalize on Classic success and all these new people by then giving them a more accessible way into modern World of Warcraft. Then as for Warcraft 3 Reforged, well, it really wasn't mentioned much, but Jab did say in the Q&A that, yeah, they acknowledge that people have told them that they're not thrilled with the quality of the game, and he just said that, they believe in the game, they're going to continue supporting it, which, I mean, it's not a surprise that he said that. Now, on that topic, Blizzard earlier on in the week did respond to things, and, I mean, to be honest with you, their response just glossed over people's core concerns. They didn't actually acknowledge that they killed the old Battle.net, and, that in the process, they removed the multiplayer functionality from all classic copies of Warcraft 3, which, I mean, sucks. They did, however, also massively open up the automated refund criteria, and that pretty much means that anyone should be able to get a refund for War3 Reforged if they want to. Then finally, there is one more bit of general Blizz news. So the Coalition's Rod Ferguson has moved over to Blizzard, where he's going to head up the entire Diablo franchise. Now, this is a fairly major move, but especially so because of his reputation as a fixer. Now, Rod was in Microsoft in the 90s before moving to id, and then over to Epic for the original Gears games. He then ended up joining Irrational Games, where he reportedly was instrumental in getting BioShock Infinite actually shipped, and that was, I think, 2012 and 2013. After that then, and after the floundering of Gears of War Judgment, he then joined the Coalition, which is Microsoft's Gears studio, or Gears of War studio, to get that back on track, and seemingly he succeeded there. So, what's the take of his joining Blizz? Well, I mean, the original D3, that was a wash because of the auction house. They then fixed that with Reaper of Souls, but Well, being real with you, Mike's leadership team lost faith in D3 generally, from what we understand, and they cancelled D3 Expansion 2. This then led us into the first failed version of D4, and then the version of D4 that we saw at BlizzCon. So it is clear that they've had a bit of a struggle in getting this franchise in a good state, and maybe a new pair of hands, especially one that's very much known for getting things done, maybe that's a good sign for the franchise. Only time will tell, and if you would like the full scoop and the rest of Activision Blizzard's earnings, like an actual breakdown of their call, their finances, what's going on, and more of the Rod Ferguson situation, and more of a breakdown of the War3 Reforged response, then hit up our second channel. A bunch of people don't know we've got a second one. I'm over there. We do 6 industry news and analysis videos per week, and I mean, the recent cycle, honestly, it's been very ActiBlizz centric, which is fine because I'm interested in the company, but honestly, I'm kind of keen for that to end, especially as, we've got some more positive stuff in the works and, for next week, and hopefully they can actually just catch a break and do well for a while. But certainly, though, if you look at their finances, I mean, that earnings call from an earnings perspective, it certainly is a positive story for the company. They absolutely did do well. I mean, moving from 326 million to 409 million MAUs, that is a hell of an achievement by the numbers, and certainly will set them up for a very strong 2020. All right, so moving into the WoW news, well, the Race to World First is over. Limit have won in what I think is the first USA win in a very long time indeed, I believe since Empress in MOP, and quite simply, Limit seemed to have just outplayed, plain and simple. They were ahead for most of the race, in spite of them hitting bugs first, and yes, there's a time delay because of the regions, but, I mean, yeah, that's what went on. I think there's been a lot of drama around the race, a lot of sort of fanboys on both sides. I don't really care about that stuff, to be honest with you, but from what I can tell, looking at Method's, players' tweets, Method's roster seemed to agree that they were outplayed and will just have to do better next time. So yeah, there we go, that's Nyalotha. I'll tell you what this does mean, though. The next Race to World First will be the start of Shadowlands. That one will be more spicy than ever because, Method will be coming off a loss, which is something decently new for them, at least in the context of BFA, and Limit will be the new rising star, so it will certainly be a more competitive feeling race with a stronger storyline. Then also in today's news, and this is a somewhat late edition, Blizzard have decided to change the reputation requirement for the rank 3 rep essences in patch 8.3. Previously, they were exalted and they now are revered, and this pretty much means the players who had been doing their dailies diligently, well, they will now actually have the rank 3 essence, so pretty much a DPS or whatever gain across the board, and I'd say overall that's probably something that people will be happy with, will have wanted. Exalted did feel unnecessarily punitive, especially because I think for many people who would not be doing those dailies all the time, they'd be in a situation where, they'd get the rank 3 essence after progression and therefore wouldn't really care about it. So I've got to imagine Blizzard sort of thought, hang on, at the rate that people are actually doing this content, by the time they get this essence, it will feel a little bit irrelevant to them. So they've decided to make that change. Overall, I'd say a pretty good one. It's a little bit weird. They did not make it sooner though, but yeah, there you go. That's what's up there. Certainly a good move. Still though, it's not account-wide essences. That's what a lot of people really want with this patch, and it does seem like any chance of that happening is kind of slipping away from us now as, just the time since the patch's launch increases. Then also in a late addition to today's news, there is a new tie-in novel to World of Warcraft. It launches in July, and yeah, it's pretty much going to be, it seems like, the Before the Storm of Shadowlands, so the novel that leads us into that next expansion to the game. And I mean, yeah, overall, if you look at the plot lines, it's pretty standard, following on from the loose ends that, that have been left with patch 8.3. So Illyria is, off on her quest to work out Sylvanas, well, Illyria and Turalyon. Then, of course, on the Horde side, they're trying to work out their new structure. There's an attempt on Talanji's life. Salkan then comes in there, helps her out. And then, of course, Sylvanas is going to be working her stuff on Death, where she is trying to kill Bom Samedi. So overall, I think a novel that is set to, set to give us a lot of expansion, a lot of sort of character to what's going on with the two factions at a base level. Then also a little bit more characterization for Sylvanas. We might actually get her inner monologue. And if you watched my, I think, 4-part series on Sylvanas, really I'd said that so much of Sylvanas' good characterization has came in novels because we've had her internal monologue and we've sort of seen it from her perspective. And I think that's sorely needed. It certainly is a large issue, though, that doesn't really make it into the game, which I think has led to Sylvanas being you know, for many people, just a character that's either been confusing because they've not understood the story, or maybe just a character they don't really resonate with because it just feels rather detached. So yeah, a novelization will certainly help with that. Or a novel, but certainly there is still the issue here where a lot of the core of WoW content is set up in transmedia narrative. Not everyone's going to see that transmedia narrative content, and sometimes, you know, that does cause issues for Blizz, as it did with BFA. So, yeah, I mean, it's been an issue in the past, it's probably going to be an issue in the future, but hopefully we at least get a good novel out of it, I suppose. Okay, next, corrupted gear. Balance has been all over the place with this system. I mean, hey, look, I turn up to raid, I make embarrassing amounts of mistakes, yet I'm almost nearly at the top of the meters. Is it because I'm very dashing and skilled? No, I'm neither of those things. It's because I got Echoing Void, the Mind Flay thing, and Gushing Wound. I just get performance for free. I mean, Echoing Void, like, that's the real big one here. In many cases, it's like 7 to 15% of your character's entire damage. So, and it's like OP regardless of eye level. And yeah, I mean, that's meant that for me, as somebody who's got very lucky with corrupted gear, I just turn up, I could roll my face over the keyboard, and I'd pretty much top meters because I get so much damage for free. It's certainly a bit more impactful than Titan Forging. I think that is something we can all agree on. I mean, man, like, I feel bad for the other Demon Hunter. Like, I'm almost sure he's definitely a better player than me, at least with recent raiding experience, absolutely. So, yet, I just gotta... I mean, not that winning the DPS meters is a win, but come on. I'm a DPS player, you know what I'm like. I just sort of get that for free because of these items, so it's a bit of a wild situation, and with Echoing Void being so OP and a bunch of others being really weak, Blizzard have finally decided to shake things up. So Echoing Void has been nerfed by 50%, and that's on top of a previous 25% nerf, and unsurprisingly, even after that, it's still one of the best. Now, weaker ones have also been buffed though, with Deadly Momentum's duration being doubled, Void Ritual's buff being, I believe, doubled, and Surging Vitality going up 10%, and oh yes, then also Avoidant having its corruption values nerfed. I mean, are they reliably more good now, or is it more balanced? No, not really. I mean, Vitality, Momentum, and Ritual are a bit more in the middle of the packs, but they're still like, what, 2, 3, 4, 5 times worse than some of the top picks when it comes to DPS per level of corruption. I mean, look, it's balanced better now, yes, but there's clearly still a lot of work to be done on this system. Unfortunately, though, that work will probably be done after the Mythic race, and after most guilds have got properly stuck into the raid. And yeah, that just means, like, look, they pushed this system live in a horrendously balanced or unbalanced state, and I mean, they sure did take their time doing anything about that. Now, I'm not saying that this was rushed out on purpose by the devs. It certainly feels like that, though, and I mean, for all of their talk of player agency, this system, I mean, I really think it's removed a lot of agency. There's not much meaningful choices you can make here. It's more OP and therefore impactful than Titan Forging ever was, and yeah, as I said, my place in the meters, it's down to RNG over personal skill more than ever. As I said, the other DH in our guild, probably a better player than me, way more BFA raid experience, but I just get a whole bunch of free damage because I got good corrupted rolls, and to me that doesn't really feel fair, and it also means that I actually can't feel good about getting good performance in a raid, because I know, actually, you know, it's not really my fault. It's not my fault. It's not that I did really well and happened to get this good damage. It just was given to me for free, which for me does make it a lot less exciting. So yeah, it's an odd situation, a lot more balance is needed. I guess one fun thing is this probably lopped off like 5% of the Race to World first team's damage. Of course, Limit still got their kill, but I mean, yeah, there's that. Now, on that topic, there's also been a little bit of a N'Zoth situation. So, Mythic N'Zoth. The end battle of BFA, the culmination of a plotline that extends back to vanilla. I mean, hey, check out our Cthulhu video for the vanilla series. But yeah, a bit less cool in reality than you may have thought. By now, I'm pretty sure you've seen Preach's video on the fight's design in normal and heroic. Since then, I mean, I've hopped in. It was only in normal mode, mind you, but we had a bug in our second pool where Matt's body did not spawn, so he couldn't get back into the phase, and that was that. Moving a bit up the pecking order, though, to Method and Limit, well, they have had problems. Lots of bugs, right? Lots of Blizzard live-changing things, and that can be normal to a degree, but I mean, Limit really were beta testing that. But it's worse than usual this time. I mean, they recently had to despawn N'Zoth across, I believe, the entire region in order to prevent a kill. Why? Well, because N'Zoth wasn't behaving as intended, and they needed to fix it. More recently, though, there was a bit of a scuffle when Limit first got N'Zoth down to 25%. His psychic shell went up, a gateway spawned, and then the team wiped. And people thought, oh wow, another gateway. This is a second secret mythic phase. And given how the other secret mythic phase is really a big letdown, this got people excited. But turns out that too was a bug. N'Zoth was not supposed to spawn that gateway. He wasn't supposed to spawn the shell. And actually the fight was just a straight burn down to 0 from that point. And this was confirmed via an email that Limit received. And then of course they did later get the kill. Now what's funny is that the shield may have been introduced last week as a stopgap measure to make one of Limit's strategies impossible, and it seemingly was just left in post bug fix in the reset. Kind of hard to tell why this stuff happens sometimes, but sure must be a rough situation over there. Now, this essentially does confirm, though, that, I mean, for me, I think N'Zoth is probably one of the least excitingly designed end bosses of an expansion in quite some time indeed, and, I mean, it certainly does not live up to past Mythic end bosses. I don't take any joy in saying that, but I still do have to call things like as I see them, because if I don't do that, then I'm literally lying, and that's not a good thing to do. I mean, Archimonde, he had his 4th phase, even though WoD was a bit of a wash. Argus had his big 4th phase. They were both pretty major. N'Zoth's, though, was just a small room with a few mechanics that the guild dealt with midway through the fight. To be honest, not that exciting, but also not really unsurprising. It's kind of clear here that the team were operating with extremely tight timelines for this patch. Of course, though, that's something they can't really say publicly. Not that they've had the chance to, because there's been a 10-month gap in the Q&A series that they did. So who knows what's going on there, but still, I mean, I'd say the deadlines are just about the only good excuse they could have for the patch's quality control and the lack of balance and those problems. And I mean, like, look, it's a sad situation, right? It sucks that it's this way. Like, personally, I've enjoyed getting back into raiding a lot. I mean, it really had been a while, but now that we've reformed our roster, you know, there's like familiar voices in Discord. We've got a pug fewer rolls. We're getting our N'Zoth normal kill and Sunday, and then we're into heroic progression. That's going to be really fun, but I still can't let my personal enjoyment with this game, which is higher than usual right now, I can't let that get in the way of me seeing things for how they are, which is, I mean, yeah, a little bit underwhelming. Anyway, next up, let's go to the one fantastic part of this patch, visions. So Blizzard have greatly reduced enemy HP in visions for healers and tanks. They had been having a little bit of a rough time, save some exceptions. Echoing Void, of course, scales with HP, and this meant that some tanks were utterly demolishing visions. I mean, actually, they should be about as powerful now as they were before, because the nerfs, like, kind of match up there. Then also, Illyria's guards were nerfed in the Stormwind Vision, which I'm sure you've noticed this week. So yeah, there you go. I mean, visions are probably the only part of this patch that actually works like super well. I mean, they're still really fun to me. I'm still just a bit sad I can only do them for like a few times a week. I'd love to do them another once or twice, yes, but to be honest with you, I don't want to burn myself out doing the dailies. So yeah, that's what's up there. Personally, I'm on the cusp of getting gifted the Titans, so I'll be getting into masks soon, and that will be really exciting. I do though think that like never has a weak patch been held up so much by a single feature as is the case with this patch, because visions sure are holding this patch up. And I will say, every week, whenever, you know, the vessel of visions comes over and I do my 2 assaults and I can get in pretty easily, yeah, I do look forward to doing my visions. Even now, as I've done them mostly for this week, yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. I'm still going to play WoW next week, and probably for the next month or two, at least, maybe 2 or 3 months, as I start to do all of the visions with all of the masks and, you know, have a lot of fun there. But certainly, it's a mixed time, as I think this last month has proven. As for the future, though, well, Shadowlands Beta is going to be the next thing on the horizon. I very much doubt it will be before the end of February now, so I think that's what's up there. There had been some murmurings of Shadowlands even missing its 2020 release date. I don't think that's the case because, of course, we heard in the earnings call that Shadowlands is going to be second half of 2020. I think that does, though, mean that it's not going to be August. I really am seeing September, October, maybe November. I mean, November could work, but I think it would be very much not ideal for Blizzard because November is, of course, when a lot of other games are going on sale, so they probably would not want that competition. But yeah, I'd say early March. I think that's when beta is going to happen. And I mean, we've got very robust plans. I haven't done it yet because my Blizzard contact is just away on leave at the minute, but I am going to be coming up with a very robust plan and a very big initiative to help, I guess, to help me better form my opinions, but also to gather all of your opinions and to get them to Blizzard. So I'm experimenting on how do I design feedback forms? How do I, approach making videos so we can get the most feedback possible? I'm going to do a video once that's all worked out. It'll probably be just 12 minutes of me sitting down and saying, listen up, it's never been this important. Here is the plan, and we're all going to work together to help to make this game as good as it possibly can be. And certainly from what I understand, it's this type of thing that the team would appreciate receiving. So if we can all do that in good faith, try to help them out as much as we can, because at the end of the day, we all do want World of Warcraft to be in as good a state as is possible, especially with Shadowlands. Hopefully, the only way to go is up, but hey, beta will tell us what the crack is there. And as I said, probably a month and a bit till that happens. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. If you want more content, hit up our news channel. There's a video on Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition that's it's got some people excited. You might enjoy that, and also more extended coverage of the more meta topics less related to WoW that we covered in this video. Links for all that stuff are down below, of course. And yeah, with that, thank you, and I will see you next time.